Hill, your host, and we have our co-host and chairman of the United Aboriginal American Republic Council of Elders, Terrence Lake. How you doing this morning, sir?
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm doing well, a little colder than cold right now up here. So I'm hibernating all day today. But other than that, I'm doing well. Thank you.
So, Chairman, I can't even let you get away with just cause cold. You know those night show questions. How cold is it?
Cold, huh?
Cold, cold. All right. Uh, just like the Tampa Bay Bucks and Detroit Lions, we sitting back on the sidelines this year. So it's warming up down here a little bit. Also, we have our co-host and engineer, Andre Hill Jr. What's going on, man?
Everything is good in the hood. Like you say, it's warming up down here. It's getting back to normal old paradise down
All right. So today's topics are eye openers. One particular topic, is really being addressed to melanated people, and we're gonna hit on that one. But this show is your wake up call, and if you didn't wake up from what's going on in Washington D.C. right now, you on some serious heroin or something that's got you knocked out cold. But we're gonna help try to shake you and wake you up before the train hits you. And so let's go into the topics. So usually on Fridays, I post to Facebook, good afternoon, family. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live. You press the live button and you go to our link, or on Andre Hill Sr.'s Facebook page, you can catch the show live. The Black Aboriginal Americans send a stern message to China, Japan, and billionaire investors that are acquiring our land here in the Americas from unscrupulous, low-frequency ETs and their demon seed humans, is that this land will be cursed until the truth is revealed, and that the land will remain cursed until it's returned to its rightful owners. We're going to talk about that with the Rosewood massacres and 50 other cities that were destroyed. All right, we will discuss Tulsa, Slocum, Rosewood massacres. Also, why do low-frequency ETs want to exterminate the original humans that were given dominion over the surface of planet Earth? Tune in and be enlightened. Also, go to lucifersrevenge.net. Get you a copy of Lucifer's Revenge, because it'll help prepare you for why all this is going on and why it's happening the way it is. So get you a copy. It's on Amazon, and just type in our names. So, I got to apologize this morning. I'm a little stuck. There was this mean virus. They caught me. They caught me slipping this time, and so it's got me a little nasal and what have you. But it's as all, just like the Mexicans want to get permission from Black folks to can we use "we shall overcome"? We shall overcome this with this virus as well. So I want to get started with the reason what our people don't see happening is with China and Japan. They're buying up a lot of land in the U.S. Quiet as kept. And they're buying this land from a culture that were basically immigrants themselves. And they just came in, murdered, killed, stole land, and just say it's our land. And now they start to realize that the negative karma associated with their devious acts is starting to affect them, their children, and their children's children. And so they're not prospering, at all from this. They may have that illusionary $1 billion, but in terms of spiritual happiness and evolution, they're not experiencing that. As a matter of fact, they're degrading. They're going in the reverse direction as to what as per what this human experiment is all about. You're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to learn from your experiences. But this religious oligarch, helped program people to think that I can do anything I want, just say 3 Hail Marys and throw a cross over my shoulder, and all my sins are forgiven. Yeah, that was a big deception. That was a big lie. So what goes around truly comes around. So I have a video by Bernie Sanders. And the reason, I'm bringing out this video because he is basically addressing melanated people. He realizes that his culture, the Jewish culture, and the Caucasian culture, they can't fix this thing on planet Earth. They can't resurrect. They can't stop doing the evil things they do because they know that if they shut down this ignorance of white supremacy, that's going to be a problem, because there's karma to pay, and it's hard to level the playing field when your pheno code is a recessive gene, and I understand, so a lot of the leaders and the scholars realize that there's nothing they can do to get the Caucasian people to understand the repercussions of their actions. So they're really calling on melanated people. And I'm encouraging melanated people to wake up, smell the roses, get your head out of the sand. There is no Jesus coming to save you. Now, there is a brigade or a contingency of extraterrestrials, and for those of you that like fairy tales, angels that are in our atmosphere that are positioning themselves to start burning a hole in these demon seed humans and their reptilian or alien low frequency entities. So they're waiting on us to ask for help, but you can't ask for help praying to an image and a name that was given to you by the Catholic Church and your slave master. You remember, the Catholic Church raped little boys. The nuns, they have a horrendous record of putting entire cultures in their schools and programming them to delete their own culture and accept the reality of their imaginary Christ, which was an image formed based on a demented pope. And that's who a lot of our melanated people are praying to the wrong entity. So part of what we're doing with this show, we know all of you ain't gonna get it because a lot of you gonna reincarnate. You're gonna live through this life, and you're gonna reincarnate, and you most likely coming back as a good old boy in West Virginia, a Caucasian, and you're gonna lose your privilege to your beautiful melanated body. Keep staying in this loop of ignorance, and that is your future. But I don't want to wear you out too bad. But let us go ahead. Bernie Sanders is appealing to the Black people. You the last resort. You the only option that we have left to save this planet. But you got to wake up. You got to stop the division and working against each other, and just say we all coming together for one reason: get this demonic energy off the planet and start running our own planet. So go ahead, man, and play Bernie Sanders what he's trying to tell the melanated people on this planet.
Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, has added 120 billion to his fortune just since election day. Got that? 120 billion since election day. While Jeff Bezos, number 2 guy, he only became $67 billion richer in the last month. Outrageously, the wealthiest people in the world are stashing up to 32 trillion in offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands in order to avoid paying their fair share of taxes to governments all over the world. In other words, governments are underfunded, and these people stash trillions in tax havens. Meanwhile, the uber rich do spend money to protect their incredible wealth. They do it by buying influence, and increasingly by buying our elections. Just 150 billionaire families spent nearly $2 billion to buy our recent elections. Elon Musk alone spent at least $277 million to back Donald Trump. How's that? One guy, $277 million. And we saw the results of that investment working pretty good for him. The major defense contractors spent over $38 million this election cycle. And you know what? They're going to have $1 trillion military budget with enormous amounts of waste and fraud in it. This is not democracy. This is not one person, one vote. This is not all of us coming together to decide our future. This is oligarchy.
So the first
oligarchs in
Hi, I'm the founder of Stanley. And just like Monty over here, I used to struggle.
So the first part of that, did we run past it? Okay.
Was another part you wanted to play?
No, you may have missed it. So anyway, but he went in a little bit more detail about how the oligarchy was set up, and but anyway, understand this, people. In order to become a billionaire, you have to be sanctioned through a Luciferian agenda. You just can't. You make money because now, and I'm speaking from 67 years now of business experience. Every time you get a business going and get to a certain level, there's an alarm set to the Luciferian headquarters, and they will come to you and ask you, how bad do you want to be a millionaire? And are you willing to become beholden to the Luciferian agenda? And if you say no, they will systematically shut you down through your employees, your products, through taxation, Internal Revenue Service. These are demonic people. All right. So Elon Musk, all his money is illusionary. Now, and we give it power by saying, oh, we accept your money and we respect your money and you are a genius and all bull crap. They got this money because they signed a contract that they will be beholden to the Luciferian agenda till the end of their lives, and when they have to report. So don't get caught up in the limelight and the illusion of fame and fortune, because it is exactly that. He is being put in position for one reason, and that reason is to serve the interests of the Luciferian agenda. And so that's why now the people are depending on us. Chairman, you've been on this planet a few years longer than I have.
Yes, I have.
What's your observation?
My observation is these super rich people, are trying to not give us the education so we can see what's really going on this planet. They're trying to distort the real education on this planet, but they don't really look into the future, because with the AI, it's going to change this whole system. It's going to put everybody in check. Money, this paper money, is going to be eliminated. So all their money is going to go through a central data bank where it can be recorded. They can't make a move and do anything without it being known. You don't even have to do your taxes no more. AI will do the taxes for you. And that's going to bring on a bigger change, because all this corrupt money, it won't be corrupt anymore. This AI is going to just be computerized to the point where these robots are going to, like you're doing something wrong, it's going to knock you out of the box, almost like the concealed police, just waiting for you to do something wrong. If you don't do anything wrong, you're okay. But if you do something wrong, you're going to get busted. That's the way it is. And we got to wake up, because if we wake up, then we'll see what's going on, and we can make these changes, to society. We can help it and oversee the robots, because they only do what we program them to do, but we got to get them to program every individual on an individual basis. It's got to be fair. There's got to be a guaranteed annual income for every living soul on this planet. And I say planet because a one world government is going to happen on planet Earth. We can get along with each other. We've proven that. But it's just the corruption is what's got us all confused and discombobulated. With the education system, you still got some people thinking that the planet is flat, and that's ridiculous, but the change is coming, and it's coming fast. And it's not all Caucasians that are bad. It's not all blacks or yellows. I feel basically the majority of the people on this planet are good people, you know. If you go back when the riot days, yeah, it was probably more than 50% of the Caucasians might have been bad, but they were in fear, thinking that we were going to get in control and take this, system over, because they know how fast we learn. They know that. They know us better than we know ourselves, because they give us the education. They program us. But when things are made fair, we rise to the top. Look, everything you see. And it's not saying that we're better, but I think because we're just righteous people by our nature, it causes us to have this ability to do good at what we do. But we're all God's children, regardless of pigmentation. We just got to make things right for everybody. And then if you want to be rich, you'll be rich. But poor, it's got to go. That's got to be eliminated, because that's not doing us any good at all. I'll land that plane.
All right. Well, I got to have definitely have Andre Hill Jr. to weigh in on this. Hey, man, how do you all look at these billionaires, Elon Musk and all these guys that are controlling all the wealth? What does your generation think of?
I think they look at them as if they are a boss in a video game. If that makes sense. Right, because we did kind of grow up in that era, especially my generation, the '80s babies, and in going further with that analogy, this world now seems like a big game to my generation and below, because it just doesn't seem real, right? It doesn't seem real to my generation. The idea of making money and the idea of making money just doesn't connect. And this is what I mean by that. Making money versus doing some type of, or exerting some type of energy or intellect to earn money versus literally printing the money, right? My generation's starting to be like, wait a minute. So, who's making this money and who's dictating the rules on how it is obtained, right? So, through all kinds of conditioning, not even just education in the school system. And y'all forgive me, because me and Dad caught the same viruses. So if I seem a little, my voice ain't projecting as loud as today, y'all just bear with me. But I almost forgot my train of thought. I almost pulled a chairman. Sorry about that.
Well, something about the video game was your last statement. So you were going in the direction of the video game and the bosses, and
yeah, it just completely left me. Either way, my generation is trying to figure out, okay, so are we going to continue to go along with this system to live peacefully, or or is there going to be some type of movement, some type of paradigm that comes down that we can join, that we know it will be fruitful if we do fight back. I think that's where my generation is struggling right now. So as far as Elon Musk goes in particular, we don't think he's a genius. We know very well, we can Google it. He just got hand-me-down money from generations of his family participating in apartheid in South Africa. We know that. We all know that. We all know that very well. Caucasian people know that very well. They talk about it the most, right? Steve Jobs, who's the other one? Jeff Bezos, all of them. You know, there's somewhat of a conditioned trap to where, like you say, people want to play the game and live some type of lifestyle while they do have this body on this planet, because they don't see any other option. In contrast to what we're offering as our indigenous government, self-sustainable microcosms, and something that you always coined that earning your worth with intrinsic value. A lot of people, for the most part, our society has no idea what that means or what that looks like. And so, and Chairman, you hit on a good point earlier. A totalitarian AI government is what they want next, because my generation is only seeing it as a game. It's like this: we're aware that it's a game, but we're not supposed to be aware that it's a game, right? Similar to the movie The Matrix, they weren't supposed to be aware that it was ever a Matrix in the first place. They were just supposed to be in it, and they just knew that was the only reality that existed. But my generation, we're very well aware that it's all fake. It's just we just don't know any other system to cling to. So, in short, that's how my generation is looking at it. And so, on the other side of it, on the human side, everyone in my generation wants to have some type of purpose. So they're still clinging to whatever job they have that they feel contributes to this society. That's the human side of them saying, I mean, I want to be a contributor to my ecosystem. I mean, just like every other organism on this planet. That's how we're wired. But we also understand, on the same token, which may be driving us insane, that we know it's a fake environment that we are striving to contribute to. And like you say, that the mind has a way of correcting itself. But at what point does it say, okay, I'm either going to completely bow out of this system and embark on some unknown journey, and basically live a lifestyle I have no idea how it works. In other words, being completely self-sufficient. Or am I just going to continue to play this game and see what the end game looks like?
Okay, so one of the things, and my son lives with me, and I get firsthand opportunity to study what he's going through in assimilating or surviving in the system. And his generation is operating in a different reality. But it needs our help, elders. This is what Bernie Sanders was trying to say. He that address was to Black people, Aboriginals, people of color. You elders that are sitting back chilling on your retirement and your Social Security, if you got children and grandchildren, great grandchildren, which I know you do, and you sitting back saying, well, I ain't got much long to live, they'll figure it out. Don't rest on those morals, because once again, what goes around comes around. And there's an old African proverb, you come back through your children. So what you leave, the condition you leave them in is what if you have to reincarnate. And I know a lot of you say, I ain't coming back here. Bull's crap. You're not gonna make that decision. You making that decision through your actions. You're not gonna verbally say, I don't want to come back. No, you're making the choice because you sticking your head in the sand. You got bamboozled and you don't want to accept the reality that, okay, I ain't the smartest person in the world, I'm still learning. I got bamboozled, and you choose not to do anything about it. So, at the least, go get a copy of our book, Lucifer's Revenge. Go get a copy of the chairman's book, because those God's child, and he's gonna tell you where to get it from. Those, we put ourselves on the line every Saturday to bring some light, to keep these demons in check. And most people, realize that, these demons have known to kill people for going against them. But see,
Yes.
me, the chairman, and myself, we have protection, and that's why we keep doing it, because we know how to connect with the higher being, the supreme being, to get protection that will shut those demons down and completely if they touch us. And we're going to share that with your children and your children's children, what the formula of how to get true protection. Praying to Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, that was made up. It's very common sense. The letter J was introduced to the alphabet 500 years ago. The Council of Nicaea, they made up as Christianity. There is a supreme, superior Christianity, but it ain't the one that the Catholic Church gave to us. So just wake up, do some research. Don't take my word for it. Just go online and do some research. Still, the issue that we're getting at is with these billionaires. Here's what they're doing. Now, Japan then got in on it, and China is doing it, and they're buying up all this land in the U.S. Now, the billionaires, they're buying up anytime a residential property come available. They have agents, hungry brokers who they give a line of credit to buy your house and then transfer your property to that billionaire who is a demon in the Luciferian agenda. That's who wants your house. You know why he wants your house? Number one, it knows that it lied to you to get in position where it is. It cheated, it lied, it murdered. And so it can't claim your property honestly without your permission. So when you submit and say, well, I need this money, and you sign a document conveying your title to these demons, you're conveying our inheritance of earth to a bunch of weak ass demonic demon seed caucasoid and melanated Negroes. We got some Negroes that have bought into the system too. As a matter of fact, the original colonizer was black, man. When I did my research, and the original colonizers that came over here, they was brothers. But they was demonic. All right.
That's
so
the difference.
Yeah. So we're just helping you to understand this is the time of revelations, which means to reveal.
Right.
And part of what these three wise men on this show is doing is revealing to you the truth to help you make an informed decision. And so don't convey your property to these demons, and let's get on one accord to enforce what I posted about the land is going to be cursed. So China, any land that you buy, it's going to be cursed. Whatever business you set up on that land, or whatever you try to grow, it's gonna fall apart. Japan, you too. I know you upset because these demons bombed you. And that was one of the things in the Bernie Sanders video that we didn't catch. But he's saying that this demon is based right here in the U.S. And it's the same demon that flipped the switch that blew up Japan. So now you're gonna trust this demon to convey our property that they came and murdered us and raped us from. And when I was watching the Slocum, Texas massacre, one of the young Caucasian men, when they were coming, they said, "Get off this property. This ain't your land anymore." That does not constitute a change in title or transfer of deed. You gonna kill somebody and say this ain't your land anymore, and then they don't took over, and now they gonna prosper from the land? Listen, does that sound sensible? Does that sound like the laws of common in the universe gonna allow that? That young man who murdered those black folks in Tulsa and Rosewood and Slocum, he's still suffering right now in another form. He can be, if he didn't correct himself, he's probably in the form of an animal now. You keep digressing and you keep buying into this ignorance. So anyway, that's the part that that I wanted to express.
I got one statement.
Go ahead, man.
One way, China, Japan, who's another country you mentioned?
Well, those are the main two right now.
That's fine. If y'all want to build some karmic credit, and in a sense of trying to gain access to this land over here, what you can do is form treaties with Aboriginal governments like ours and help us finance buying all our shit back with favorable treaty conditions on our side, basically. In other words, no, we're not going to sign any lopsided deals with you guys, right? But it'll be fruitful for the both of us again. In Japan, your population is stagnant right now as well, right? And I'm not throwing that out there as a jab or a joke. That's just the reality of it. But on a serious note, if any country, if y'all are interested in investing in American land, and you don't want to waste your investment, reach out to or accept olive branches from Aboriginal governments like ours, and we'll make sure everybody's investment is fruitful and karmic credit worthy.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So to the old school generation, what he's saying basically, if you want the land to be blessed, do the right thing and help restore it, and recoup your investment. But if you give your money, you use a demon as your broker, it's a bad deal. It's already in defect, So, this is a little side note here. Aboriginal Americans have been violently expelled from at least 50 towns, cities, and countries in the U.S. Most of these expulsions occurred in the 60 years following the American Civil War, but continued until 1954. The justification for expulsion varied, but often involved a crime committed by Caucasians, immigrants. I wrote that. Caucasian immigrants. Labor-related issues or property takeovers. That is not a valid reason to have title of land transferred to another group. That is not a valid reason. So if you come by property from these demons who acquired this land through illicit means, the land is cursed. And it's going to expand. I don't care how advanced you think your technology is. Let's take it to another level. It is karma. Karma is an exact science. It corrects every component of life in the universe. It's a correction. It's like a correct, on those typewriters, you have correction tape. It's a correction tape. It's going to fix it. If you're out of balance, it's going to fix you. So to China, to Japan, yeah, contact UAAR. You got our website. You know who we are. Contact us and let's discuss negotiations, because these demons, whether they are Caucasian or Negro demons that are handling the sale and disbursement of our property for illicit reasons, that property is going to be invalid. It's not, whatever you're working on ain't going to work. Even the plumbing going to fall apart. The electricity, the electrical wiring, the foundation's going to crumble. It's going to snow, rain, hurricane's going to hit it. It's going to get corrected until we correct it. All right.
And talking about China's investment, China is investing billions of dollars in Africa. They're modernizing it, but they're going to hold African leaders hostage, because some of those loans, if it gets in the right or the wrong hands in Africa, they're not going to distribute that wealth amongst the people. And then China's just going to walk in and claim that land, because it's all a monetary transaction that's going on. And a lot of people don't realize it. But you got some good leaders over there in Africa, but you got some demonic African leaders too. So that's what's got to be watched.
You're absolutely right, Chairman. I'm glad you brought that point. This is worldwide,
Yes, it is.
All right. So any other comments? Let's go on, really go on to that next topic. So we wanted to get that point across to the elders that Bernie Sanders realized that he ain't gonna get his Ashkenazi Jews to get on this board with correcting itself. He's not gonna get the Southern Caucasians who feel that this their land. Nope, it ain't your land. He recognized that melanated people's got to do this. So elders, get in touch with us. If at the least, buy a copy of our book, because every dime that we get from Lucifer's Revenge is going straight into hiring your children, your grandchildren, securing land. With the chairman, whenever we ask him, when we need money, he invests in us. So get his book, God's Child, and that will help. It do that at the least. If you want to get involved with us, hey man, what the email they can send a request. I want to get involved to.
We'll get you to learn his email one day.
I'm 72 years old. I ain't learning no new tricks.
UAARlife@gmail.com. So
all right.
UAARLIFE@gmail.com.
All right. So okay. So the other topic on tap. Also, why do low frequency ETs want to exterminate the original humans that were given dominion over the surface of planet Earth?
Wait. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Did you want to play the video?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
More than 111 years ago to this day marks one of the worst days in East Texas history. The black community in Slocum was gunned down and murdered. Many who survived fled to nearby towns, leaving behind their homes and their livelihoods. CBS 19's J.J. Maldonado spoke with a descendant of one of the survivors and an author who's written extensively about the history in tonight's special report, The Slocum Massacre.
July 29th, 1910 was a day of bloodshed in Slocum, Texas.
In mobs ranging from dozens to hundreds went around killing African Americans on sight.
Newspapers from around the state and country documenting one of the worst days in East Texas history.
Starting on the 29th and going into the 30th and then residually into the 31st, mobs of white folks who cut the phone lines in the area. There were phones. They cut the phone lines so that the blacks that lived there couldn't call out for help.
E.R. Bills is the author of the book, The 1910 Slocum Massacre, Enacted Genocide in East Texas. He's researched several massacres in the state and country as a journalist.
It was sort of shocking. I didn't know anything like that had ever happened in Texas. And just the fact also that it apparently had been covered up was sort of a shock to me.
The Slocum Massacre is believed to have been the result of hatred against the black citizens who were doing well in the community at the time. Bill says also an awful rumor had been circulating that the black community was going to rise and kill their white neighbors.
But it scared the white people enough that they took their kids and their wives and put them in churches and left white men outside to defend, reportedly, and then they went on a killing spree.
The official death count is listed as 8, although it's believed 200 to 300 black East Texans were killed in those 3 days. One of the victims was Alex Hawley. Constance Hawley Joaid is a descendant of the Hawley family. Her great-great-great-grandfather was Jack Hawley, a survivor of the massacre.
Jack Hawley, who was the primary landowner and the owner of the only general store and many other businesses in Slocum at that time, and who was the primary target during the massacre. I am his great-great-great-granddaughter.
In the early 1900s, Jack Hawley was a successful businessman, which is not easy for someone enslaved until they were 19.
He started using his skills and his talents to make money for himself instead of the European, structure of chattel slavery. And so he did that just a bit too well. He owned a general store, a granary, a dairy.
Hawley survived the genocide, but was forced to flee his Slocum home and move to Palestine. He lost a son in the massacre and many, many relatives.
Having to lose a child and having a child shot and wounded like that, I can't imagine what that feels like. I have 2 children and I don't want to think about that. But it is something that many African parents, African American parents, Black parents are dealing with today, with their children being killed when they're not even armed, shot in the back or shot with not even being aggressive, innocently shot. So 1910 to 2021, 111 years later, the same things are happening to us as parents, losing kids.
Today, Hawley Joaid is focused on keeping the history of the massacre memorialized. She was instrumental in getting a historical marker commemorating the deaths of her family members and so many others who were innocently shot and killed. The marker sits along a stretch of a long road in Slocum, and on every July 29th, Hawley Joaid, along with many others, get together to remember the victims who died because of the color of their skin.
From the Slocum Massacre, I would like everyone to know the importance of remembering, regardless of what others around you tell you to do. And if a people forgets their history or forget their history, they are destined to repeat it. And we don't want that. We don't want that.
We got you covered, East Texas. J.J. Maldonado, CBS 19.
Hey, Chairman, before I do my dissertation on this, you got any comments on that?
Massacres like the one in Tulsa, Rosewood, they're a reality. It puts fear in us, thinking that, a certain group, a militia, go out on a rampage and start shooting now. It could be a terrible situation. Even though we have the ammunition to fight back, we're outgunned, you know, and I'd hate to see something like that happen, and I know a lot of my white relatives, they'd hate to see something like that. But all it takes is one bad actor to create a situation that could just run out of control, and there'd be a lot of innocent lives lost. So we have to come together. And you know me, I'm a firm believer in extraterrestrials. I think there's going to be some intervention in all this bullshit that's happening on planet Earth today. It's going to cease soon because there's too much information getting out there. And like I said before, they know that we know they are out there.
Hey, okay, hey, son. What is your generation think about? That's how you. That's why you don't have a bank. That's why you're not in control of your own destiny economically, because these demons came and just took your ancestors' property like that. 50, and that's on record. That's not counting. That's not on record. Well, how did your generation deal with that?
Right now, my observation is, let me come back a little bit. My observation from trying to galvanize, my generation on rebuilding those type of towns. That's what I mean when we talk about self-sustainable communities. When we say self-sustainable communities, we ain't talking about a new concept. We're just talking about picking up where we left off, right? But I think for the most part, most of my generation is in traumatic shock about it, and may be somewhat paralyzed from the shock, to the point to where for the most part, most of my generation, I don't think they have the confidence to initiate the rebuilding. Luckily for me, I came from two warrior families. My family just, on both sides, just don't give a damn about none of that. So, that being instilled in me, I'm always preaching on some kind of podium that we need to rebuild. I think though my generation is willing, I think they're willing, very willing, but just need to see the blueprint or the playbook on how we get started. There's a lot of, I'll take that back. I commend the few people in my generation who've already started buying land back, and starting their own initiatives on building small communities, self-sustainable or otherwise. But we need that confidence and that ideology, and all of my generation, because that's really the only option we have. But finalizing what I'm saying here, to answering your question, right now, most of my generation is in, because we're just not learning this information as well. We didn't learn any of this in school, right? We learned none of this in school, and it's hard pressed to find it on the internet in 2025. Still hard pressed to find it. So it's just like we're in the same state. I'm gonna put myself among my own people. My own generation. We're in the same state as any trauma victim would be when they observe or are affected by some catastrophe that happened to them. So paralyzed in some kind of state of trauma, whether that be fear, anger, whatever the case. That's what most of my generation is now. But what we do have is the spirit and the will to rebuild. We just are trying to obtain the skill set, because we weren't taught that either. We weren't taught that by anybody. So we're trying to obtain the skill set in this matrix, So we're trying to chew bubble gum and talk at the same time. That's where we're at with it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna come back after I ask you this question. I'm gonna deal with why does the low frequency ETs want to exterminate the original humans? But I got a question to ask you. Within our nation, United Aboriginal American Republic, what are we going to be doing? What directive or the direction we're going to do so that when people in your generation get that land, they don't have to worry about corporate America coming on enforcing their laws and rules and regulations or eminent domain and taxes. What direction are you where are you headed with contacting these young people in your generation to say by joining our collective we're going to there are certain benefits?
So what we're doing with UAAR first is we're going to set ourselves up as a beacon first, right? We're going to set ourselves up high visibly so people can see us, our people can see us, and so they can reach out to us because it's that'd be more effective for one. And who we're calling out to are the families who either have inheritance land and or are willing and able to purchase land and bring it under their own ownership and the title under their own ownership and transfer it into Aboriginal trust so that it would be under Aboriginal jurisdiction. Because there's only two type of governments that you're going to really have on this landmass that we call in the United States of America. It's going to be the United States and it's going to be Aboriginal governments. It's only two that you're going to have. So we're in a good place, as Aboriginal Americans over here to reclaim our status as sovereign tenants of the land and govern our own jurisdiction. So when we say govern our own jurisdiction, I don't want us to fear that task. I mean, I try to use this analogy all the time. If you can go work on somebody's job and be a manager, you see what I'm saying? If you can go learn whatever skill set it took to learn that job description, then you can participate in the governance of your own jurisdiction. Absolutely. I mean, just take. I mean, listen. You got Trump in office. Come on now, you got Trump in office. If he can run this country, you can govern, let's say, about 1,000 to, well, let's go further than that, 40,000 square acres of land. You can do that, especially with a collective of people who's like-minded. Absolutely, you can do it. Absolutely, you can do it. So does that answer the question?
Absolutely. So once again, I'm reaching out to our elders. We need your participation. Those guardians in the sky right now, or for those that still believe in fairy tales, those angels, they are waiting on us to demonstrate a collective effort. And we have all the formulas. We know how to call on them. We know how to get them to implement devices on our behalf to shut down any of these demonic demon seed humans that are interfering with us. So we ask you guys to get involved. And I had another thought, but it'll come back to it. So let me deal with why the low frequency ETs want to destroy the original humans. Now, all of this is in our book, lucifersrevenge.net, but I'm going to give it to you in very simple terms. The original beings, scientists that came here to set up this planet were melanated. They were melanated because they were going to operate on the surface. They had a covenant. There are cultures beneath the surface but on the surface, they were melanated. The scientific proof behind that is that you have a pineal gland that provides melanin to protect you from the sun. Okay? So when those scientists developed the first human, they were melanin because they needed protection from the sun. All right? So we operated for thousands and thousands of years developing, natural what do you call it? Protection, antivirus protection in order for us to operate on the planet. All right, so after so many years through attrition, we started, losing control and getting beside ourselves and was treating each other wrong. Now, these original civilization that developed us here were melanated people. So after we got to the point where it was time for us to start merging because the populations grew, the Most High, the High Command, understood what the Lucifer factor was, because we were starting to smell ourselves. We were becoming like little teenagers that's breaking out. And so the Most High, just like a parent, allowed the Lucifer factor to come into play. So the Lucifer factor is a particular frequency that will test you. So it's like when you disobey your parent, they may get a strap out and beat your ass. All right. Well, the Most High did the same thing. And so it allowed the Lucifer factor to come to earth and go beneath the ground and build an alliance with the humanoid reptilians, who have been living underground for so long, their pineal gland calcified. So what the Lucifer component did, basically, it found a disenfranchised Aboriginal female. And if you go do your research, in the so-called Adam and Eve Genesis Project, they say Adam and Eve, but there was a Lilith. And this is mathematical. This is no hocus pocus. There are certain females that are not going to go along with the agenda. They're going to say, nah, I want to do my own thing and go out into the wilderness and go and take her chances. So Lucifer, the Lucifer factor, recognized her and went to her and cut a deal and say, look, I want to create a new human species, that will be beholding to us, that will worship us, and they will need us. And that is when they crossbred the sperm from a humanoid reptilian with a calcified pineal gland with the mitochondrial DNA of an Aboriginal woman. That's how these Caucasian bodies came about. Now, got to follow me closely on this. Okay, so once the Caucasian bodies were created, they had to go through a process of being introduced to human society. They started out in the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, and then they gradually brought them out and civilized them and brought them up to this point. But the Lucifer factor is they were not the original human design. That's why they're referred to as recessive bodies. All right. So that recessive body recognized that I can't run as fast. I can't come up with ideas for technology. I'm not as pretty as these melanated people. So Lucifer knew that, okay, well, if you want a level playing field, you're gonna have to do my bidding on the planet. You got to lie, cheat, and steal. All right. So that is how the Caucasian bodies were created. Now, follow me closely on this. There was only a few Caucasian bodies in the beginning. All the rest of those bodies were melanated, and the souls that incarnated into those bodies, those Aboriginal bodies, ended up in those Caucasian bodies. I hope I didn't confuse you on that transfer. So as you start doing devious things, even as a melanated person, you lose your privilege to the original human DNA, which gave you the big butt, the beautiful skin, the brawn, and all that. You anytime you submit into a selfish agenda, you lose your privilege. And they lost their privilege. So all of you Caucasian brothers and sisters, you were Aboriginals in the beginning, but you lost the privilege. It could have been by force, could have been by a number of things. So what we're working on is a design for you to earn your privilege to come back in the next life in a beautiful melanated body. Therefore, you don't have to be jealous or try to create an artificial intelligent atmosphere to accommodate these Caucasian bodies. So you got to start the process of sacrificing so that you can earn that right. And then that's how the balance will be restored on the planet. I hope I didn't lose anybody on that one. That's not an easy transfer, because I'm a leader, so I try to balance, not hurt everybody's feelings. But that's what happened. That's why you got these Caucasian bodies. And I've said this on previous shows. If you keep doing these evil, diabolical things, you'll lose your privilege even to a Caucasian body. You're coming back as an animal. And if you keep going, you go all the way back to the amoeba, if you keep it up. All right? So all of that is explained to you in Lucifer's Revenge.net. Go and order a copy of the book. That could be the least of your contribution to the salvation of your planet, your children, and your future lives. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, there is a documentary that they quietly took offline, but it was done by the History Channel and the University of Virginia. It's called The Science of the Soul. It explains how real reincarnation is. So you write your future in the way you act and do things here on this earth. So, hey, Chairman, tell them how to find your book and we can close this puppy out.
Okay. Well, you can get it through Amazon, or you can even get it through Barnes and Noble, and then another way of getting it through my website, www.godschildren.biz, B-I-Z, and we'll accommodate you to get that book in your hands, and you'll enjoy the read. It's an easy read. I've had a person that I grew up with told me when she got the book, she read it in 24 hours because she couldn't believe all the things that I went through, and she's been knowing me all her life. But get the book, and I'm quite sure you'll be pleased with it.
So that's the contribution that we're asking from the population. If you're afraid of losing your job, you're afraid of repercussions by these demon seeds, just buy a copy of the book, and then the book is going. The chairman's book, he donates to the UAAR Nation to keep it going, so we can hire your children and your grandchildren, because they're not going to win in the Trump era with the Billionaire Club. They have to sell their soul to get into that. So get a copy of the chairman's book. That keeps us going. We keep doing this show every Saturday, putting our lives on the line for the salvation of our children. Hey, why kick in and help us out? You used to go to church and put in thousands of dollars a year for some nonsense. Now you can invest in something that's going to give you a return for your children. Son, you ready to close us out?
Yeah, you had one more interesting video I wanted to take a look at.
Well, give us a shot of it.
Sure. I was waiting all show for this video. All right.
Maio Shibu.
Isso aqui?
Sim.
Manco na Wabu.
Sério? Macunawabu. Macunawabu é que mora debaixo da terra.
É, eu falei, esse aí.
Que se virou formiga, hoje que nós chamamos Una, que é uma formiga grande, chama-se Macunawabu.
Que essa formiga também é muito perigoso, né, Buina? Se as pessoas ficar mexendo com ela demais, ela leva o espírito da pessoa para debaixo da terra também. Para voltar tem que ser um pajé bem bom.
São seres que pode aparecer em luz divina, com a luz do Nishpan. São seres que a gente pode ter o contato, que moram debaixo da terra.
E alienígena não tem?
Como?
Alienígena.
Alienígena? O que é?
Nunca, essa palavra você nunca ouviu falar? Alienígena.
Alienígena, não. Isso chama-se Mayushibu.
Isso aqui?
Sim.
Mancunawabu.
Mancunawabu.
Sério?
Macunawabu. Macunawabu é que mora debaixo da terra.
É, eu falei, esse aí.
Que se virou formiga, hoje que nós chamamos Una, que é uma formiga grande, chama-se Macunawabu.
Que essa formiga também é muito perigoso, né, Buina? Se as pessoas ficar mexendo com ela demais, ela leva o espírito da pessoa para debaixo da terra também. Para voltar tem que ser um pajé bem bom.
São seres que pode aparecer em luz divina, com a luz do Nishpan. São seres que a gente pode ter o contato, que moram debaixo da terra.
E alienígena não tem?
You want to do your interpretation first?
Yeah. So, what if I had trouble following it? Basically, what happened was they asked this let's say this rural dwelling indigenous tribe down in Brazil, have they ever seen or had contact with an alien? And they didn't know what the word alien meant. But once they showed them a picture of particularly a gray ET, we all know what grays look like. They're skinny, gray skin aliens with the big head and the big eyes. And the indigenous, they can tell what they were looking at, and they call them, the ant people. They look like giant ants. And they said they live underground. And they go and be snatching folk and be taking them down underground. And what's interesting about this is I follow a channel on YouTube about this sister who's from America, who moved to Ghana and married a Ghanaian brother. And he had a very similar story about his people who used to go hunting in the jungle, in the bush, and said they encountered the same type of beings, and said they also lived in the hills and underground. And and said also that they would be, abducting people sometimes based on circumstances. But either way, I think this ties back into what you were just talking about there. Were you talking about
the humanoid reptilians?
The humanoid reptilians that lives,
the surface
underground.
Yeah.
Right. They live underground, but you have to ask yourself, we're just trying to make logic of things here. You have to ask yourself, what would some quote unquote advanced beings like that? Why would they relegate themselves to living underground? More than likely they didn't. More than likely they're forced to live down there. Forced to live down there by who? Who can force? Who can force some beings of that? Those capabilities to live underground. More than likely, who you always refer to, a celestial high council. In other words, some more divine ETs and or advanced beings that are more powerful than them. And they had to make way for us humanoid beings to live on the surface and do our experimental lifestyle. That's my brief take on it. Well, go ahead.
So it was a confirmation of the story of how Caucasian bodies were created. And these Caucasian bodies will continue to do the will of Lucifer, not all of them, but the ones that are possessed by, there's certain astrological alignments, and my son and I know all of them. If they're born into this environment, they're going to use those demonic ways to maintain and acquire power by any means necessary. That means lie, cheat, steal, murder, rape. And so that's why we have this divide on the planet. And the Most High allowed this because it's forcing us to recognize this science and this math and fix ourselves. It's giving us the option to repair ourselves through communications, like we're communicating to you now. This is what happened. This is why we have these Caucasian bodies, and that's why I'm working very hard. I don't want to reincarnate into a Caucasian body. I have Caucasian friends. I give them love, but at the end of the day, I want my black Mandingo 6'4", 235-pound body, and I want to dominate naturally, So this is the transition. So this is forcing us to recognize and respect the laws of balance and understand how we can restore our species to its original form and elevate to a higher frequency. Because the beings that brought us here, they passed that test. And that's why they are in the atmosphere right now, watching Donald Trump and all his crazy people and these billionaires, and they ready to bust a cap in their ass. And as soon as we organize, come together as a collective, respect the laws, get rid of all these fake religions that they put on us, and then respect the laws of balance of the universe. Chairman, you got one more word? We can close this baby out.
One more word. We have more than enough room on this planet for everybody. We are divine spiritual beings in a human body, but we've got to come together because there's so many beautiful souls on this planet. You got to get around and see it. And a perfect example is just look at the Olympics every 4 years, how young people come together. They're not willing to go through what their forefathers went through. They're tired of the fighting each other. The only competition they want is in the skills of the Olympics. And if we get into that type of mindset, all the beauty will come out, and you'll just be so heavenly happy for the rest of your existence. It's unimaginable. That's my take.
Hey, son, you can close us out.
All right, yeah, we 13 past the hour. Hey, y'all, we love y'all. This is Straight Talk Radio Show. We'll see y'all next week.